Station, this is Houston. Are you ready for the event?
Houston, I'm ready for the event.
Sanremo, Italy. This is Mission Control, Houston. Please call station for a voice check.
Station, this is Jules Grancier from ESA PAO here in Sanremo. How do you hear me?
And Jules and Sanremo, I have you loud and clear. Welcome aboard.
I now leave the floor to the anchor, Carlo Conti.
Samantha? Qui è Sanremo che ti parla. Come
Sanremo is talking to you. How are you?
Sto benissimo.
I'm very well.
Buonasera a tutti.
Good evening to everyone.
Sono molto emozionato di tutte le
I'm
interviste che ho
very excited.
quella che mi
Out of
porta
all
in alto.
interviews that I've ever done, this is the one that takes me highest than anyone else.
Immagino di tutti
I can
i viaggi che
imagine.
ho
Of all
fatto, questo è
travels,
decisamente quello che mi ha
this one
portato più
is
in alto.
definitely the one that's taken me the highest.
Senti, quale giorno di permanenza nello spazio sei arrivato?
Listen, what day of permanence on the ISS are you at? Now, how many do you need before you come home?
Se non mi sbaglio, siamo
If I'm not
al giorno
mistaken,
numero
we're
81,
day number 81.
ahimè,
and-
lo dico anche con un po' di
And
inquietudine,
alas, I
vicino
also say it with a
alla
little bit of
metà
sadness.
della
I'm getting
missione,
close to the
quindi
half
questo fine
point.
settimana
So
saremo-
this,
saremo già
I
in
believe,
strada.
this weekend will be the halfway point.
Ahimè, quindi vuol dire
Alas, so that means that you're liking it there, that by now you feel at home.
Sì, devo
Yes,
dire,
I have
ormai
to
mi
say,
sento
by
molto
now,
a mio agio, ma
I
davvero
really feel
ho
comfortable,
amato
but I have to
vivere
say
qua
that
subito
I've
dal
loved
primo
being
giorno.
here since the
Veramente i
first
primi
day.
giorni
So
sono stati
surely
giorni di,
the first days were days of
gioia
joy,
veramente fuori scala,
truly
grandissima,
beyond
per
every scale,
il piacere di
huge,
essere
for the
finalmente
pleasure of
arrivata
being
dove
finally
per tanti anni volevo essere,
where
dove ho
I
sempre
have
sognato
wanted
di
to
essere. E
be
anche
for
per il
many
gioia di
years, where I
scoprire
always
le
dreamed of
piccole
being,
cose
but
di
also the
quell'universo,
joy
quindi
of
di vivere
discovering
veramente
the
la
little
stazione
things about
spaziale,
living on the
dalla possibilità di
ISS,
volare,
the
alla
possibility of
grandiosa
floating,
possibilità di
the
guardare la Terra dallo
marvelous
spazio, ma anche la
ability to look
gratificazione
at the
che
Earth
viene
from
dal realizzare
space,
tanta
and the
attività qui a
gratification
bordo,
of
a
knowing that
partire da
you're doing a
tanti
lot of activities on
esperimenti
board,
di
starting from
ricerca
many
scientifica in tante discipline,
experiments
e in
in many
particolare quelli che
disciplines,
mi stanno molto a
particularly
cuore
the
sono
ones
quelli
that I care the
dell'Agenzia
most
Spaziale
about, the
Italiana,
ones
che
for the Italian
rappresentano
Space
la
Agency that
comunità
represent the
scientifica italiana.
scientific community in Italy.
Senti, in questo momento
Listen,
dove si trova la stazione
at
spaziale?
this point, where is the ISS with respect to the Earth? What speed are you traveling at?
Allora, la nostra
So
velocità è
right now
di
our speed is 28,500 kilometers per hour, about 7 kilometers per second.
Dove mi trovo,
Where I am now, unfortunately, it's been a bit chaotic of a day so here on board, so I haven't had a moment to go and verify where we are because we're going so fast. But one thing I want to say, the ISS can be seen by the naked eye from Earth. There are the internet websites where you can find out where it's coming, and in these days there are some beautiful passages over Italy, late afternoon, early evening, where with the naked eye you can see the ISS as this dot that is going across the horizon from one end to the other. So if you want, you can also say hello.
Sarebbe bellissimo.
That would be wonderful. We'll do it for sure.
Puoi vedere la Terra dalla cosiddetta
Now, you can say the Earth from the cupola, right? So this window
si affaccia sullo spazio.
that
Ci vai in
looks out to space, do you go there often?
Ci vado naturalmente più spesso
I go
durante i giorni
more often
liberi,
when I have my free days,
durante
weekends.
una giornata lavorativa ci vado
Throughout the
la
workday,
sera,
I
torno
go
in
there in the
due,
evening.
quindi
It
90
doesn't matter
minuti
anyways,
dal giorno
because
alla
every
notte.
90 minutes we go
Durante
from
il
day to
giorno
night.
ci
So
sono
even
sia
in the middle of the night,
passaggi,
there are
diciamo,
passages
di giorno con la luce, sia
with
passaggi
daylight
notturni.
and night
E ci tengo
time.
tra l'altro a dire che questo chiaramente è il
But
modo
I want to say that this is the favorite
tutti gli
module of all
astronauti
astronauts
per poter passare il tempo libero,
to
ed è
spend
stata
free
proprio
time, and it was made in Italy, in
del resto
Turin,
una grande parte
like
dei moduli
the
abitabili dove noi
rest
astronauti
of
possiamo
the
vivere,
modules
lavorare, fluttuare,
where the
sono
astronauts
stati
can
tutti
work,
fatti
live,
in
and
Italia,
work
quindi
were
ci
made in
condivido
Italy. So
a
there's
bordo.
a lot of made in Italy here on board.
Noi spesso ho visto le foto che mandi
Often I see the
da lassù,
photos that you sent from up there, and they show a beautiful Earth. But from up there, do you become more optimistic or pessimistic about the future of our planet? Surely you become more understanding. You develop a special link to the Earth in its entirety. You understand immediately up here that all of us, everyone, the billions of human beings are all on this small, if you will, fragile, marvelous, but fragile Earth that is, after all, our spaceship that we're all on, and that it's taking us in this trip across space because, of course, Earth moves around the sun, and with the sun, it moves through space. So it's our spaceship, and we have to take care of it because we don't have another one. It's very funny to see that every so often you let the microphone float, but this weightlessness, is it more annoying or is it fun? And did you adapt quickly? I have to say that I was very lucky because my body adapted very quickly. The only symptoms I had for a few days were a little bit of congestion in my nose, some headaches the first 10 days or so, but then after that they completely went away. So my body rapidly adapted, and all I had left was the joy and the pleasure, physical pleasure of being able to float. Looking at your face like that, I can see the optimism, happiness, and joy. But is there something that you miss of Earth? Well, you know, once in a while you have these moments where you have a craving for something that we don't have here. So a nice big salad of fresh vegetables with some fresh tomatoes, tasty, that isn't possible to have here. Or a simple pleasure of being able to wash your hands in running water, to have that freshness, or even to take a shower. These are all things that are not possible here, but in the end, they're small things that of anything important I don't miss. When the President of the Republic, the ex-President of the Republic, Napolitano, in his speech at the end of the year, he talked about you as a champion of culture. What did you feel? Well, from one end, I was very flattered, but I was also a little bit embarrassed. But it's hard to feel like you deserve such an honor. So, of course, I'm flattered, and I thank the ex-president for this honor. But I don't necessarily feel like I deserve it. You deserve it. You deserve it. Were you ever scared? In these days, I mean, of this experience. Well, fear meaning physical, about my survival and well-being, no. But in the first few days, I was a little bit scared of making mistakes, because up to the on the third day, they put me to run an experiment for the Italian Space Agency, and so I was a little trepidant to do something that was wrong, because I didn't know the ISS, and everything we do here has a huge work behind it of teams of scientists who maybe worked on that for months and years. So now it's in our hands. So being able to complete this work, once in a while you have that little bit of fear of messing something up that's going to have consequences for somebody else. Last question. On your onboard diary, you have talked about the smell of space. What smell is that? Well, of course, it's a funny way of saying, so of course space, the vacuum of space doesn't have a smell, but when the cargo vehicle came about a month and a half ago, called Dragon, that brought some supplies, when we opened the hatch, we we smelled the metal that was exposed to space. So this vehicle was launched the day before, I believe, and was exposed to space for a while. And then this smell, not particularly pleasant, that's somewhat burnt, which the astronauts talk about often, but kind of in a funny way. So we define it as the smell of space. Listen, what's your Sanremo song? I ask all my guests, is there a song from Sanremo that is special in your heart? Well, I can tell you the one that I will wake up with tomorrow. It's a song, Luce, by Elisa. Marvelous, marvelous. So listen, we are going to take advantage of the TV and Sanremo. Is there someone you want to say hello to?
No.
I don't want to take advantage for private means, but on the contrary, I would like to say hello to all the ones who are watching and listening. Thank you so much, and a big hug to all Italians who are listening and watching, and truly a great greeting and hug from space. And I hope that I was able to bring you on board with me. I would love to bring you really up here, but thank you so much, and a big hug. You succeeded. You let us live for a few moments the emotions of being in space. And Rai News already told us that next week you will wake up with one of this festival's songs. So next week you'll have to send a tweet about the song that you will listen to next week. So we'll be waiting for your tweet. I will do that for sure. It will be a pleasure. Greetings to all. An applause and a greeting from the stadium of Sanremo to our marvelous Samantha Cristoforetti. Bye, Samantha.
Tutti.
Thank you very much, Carlo Conti.
Ciao, Samantha, grazie.
The first portion of the
Grazie.
event. I'm taking over for ISA TV, Samantha, and my first question is, you're in the Columbus lab at the moment. Can you tell us how the laboratory is performing those days?
Sorry, Jules, could you repeat? There is a lot of background noise.
We see you are in the European Columbus laboratory at the moment. Can you tell us how the laboratory is performing those days?
Well, Columbus, like all the science equipment that we have on station, has been very busy this last few weeks, especially with the arrival of Dragon, of the cargo vehicle Dragon. We had a lot of new experiments brought up. For example, here in Columbus, immediately as soon as we opened the hatch of Dragon, I immediately retrieved samples for an experiment, an ESA experiment called T-cell, about the activation of immune cells in microgravity. And those cells had to be taken out of Dragon immediately because they were in cold storage and they would degrade if the experiment wasn't performed on time. And so we had a very strict timeline, and we were able to perform it successfully. And that, of course, is just one of the experiments that have been running. On Dragon, I also received the hardware, for example, for the experiment Drain Brain. And that is a very unique so far experiment in that it studies something that has not been looked into before, which is the return of blood from the brain, so from the head towards the heart. Of course, that on Earth, that is in a way helped by gravity. And in space, where the effects of gravity are switched off, where we are weightless, it's interesting to see how that is actually affected. And this experiment is also, in a way, a technology development project, because we are validating a very simple, non-invasive, operator-independent way of measuring blood flow with a plethysmograph, which is a little elastic band that I have around my neck. that is able to measure the blood flow.
And so you're talking about these applications. Is there for you a critical reason why we need to continue doing research in space?
Well, you know, space just provides this unique environment, weightlessness, or with a more technical term, microgravity. And that means that some effects that we can just not observe on Earth because they are masked by the effects of gravity, all of a sudden in space become visible, and we can observe them and measure them. And some of this phenomena we are aware of, we were always aware of, and we come to space because in space we're able to study them and observe them. And then sometimes, you know, you just happen to find out things that happen in space that you did not know about, and that's even more exciting because it opens up new questions and new possibilities of discovery.
You talk about your arrival on station, about the arrival of the Dragon, some of the experiments. Is there something specific in your ASI Futura mission that you're particularly looking forward to?
We've performed already quite a bit of the experimental program of the ASI Futura mission, but there's a lot to come. So, as I've said, Dragon, SpaceX 5 brought up a lot of hardware for scientific experiments. We're actually looking into another Dragon coming up during my stay on board, which will bring more scientific hardware. There's, for example, more in vitro experiments like Cytospace and NATO, in which we will again use the Cubic, which is a small portable incubator with a centrifuge to study the effect of microgravity on different types of cells, again immune cells or bone cells. And we're also looking forward to maybe receiving a small 3D printer demonstrator or possibly the espresso machine, which of course is kind of a nice addition to our life up here, but it's also an interesting technology demonstrator and research facility about fluid dynamics and handling high pressure and high temperature fluids in weightlessness.
Thank you very much, Samantha. And just to conclude, there is a green and red puppet behind you. Are you aware of that? And if you are, can you introduce them to us?
My pleasure. This is our scientist alien-in-chief, Paxi, also known as the ESA Kids mascot. And you know, when I need some help, I can call her, and she'll help out. She's been learning a lot about science and microgravity, and sometimes she will come and get us if something doesn't look right, so that we can put our eyes on it. So she's been helpful.
Thank you very much for that, Samantha. Have a good rest of your day and speak to you soon.
All right. Thanks, Jules. Bye-bye.
Station, this is Houston ACR. That concludes the event. Thank you.
And thank you, Sanremo Music Festival and the European Space Agency. Station, we're now resuming operational audio comm.